Omayanatmirandasya Ginanjanam Shalakaya Chakshurmilitan Jaina Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Guru Govardhandarva Govinda Gringanaisa Vande Prashadatoyesham Sarvaramba Shavankatha. So we're continuing with Shri Prapanna Jivanamritam. We are in chapter 4, Rejection of the Unfavorable. And we've reached verse number 15. And there's a really, really wonderful verse, and there's a parallel verse of Prahlad Maharaj, which I'm trying to remember in his when he's trying to convey some wisdom to his father, his unfortunate father. But unfortunately, I cannot remember right now. But anyhow, we will hear this verse. And this is spoken by Jada Bharat, who, it's a wonderful history. I think we might have mentioned him the other day. He was this great king, and he left everything to go live in the forest, right? And then he became very attached to a deer. So his next birth, he had to become a deer. But then his next birth, he took birth in a Brahmin family. And he could remember his whole past history because of his devotional merit. He was given that, blessing to be able to remember and keep himself, properly adjusted and focused. And so then he appeared, and he was known as Jada, like dull, like stupid, because he wouldn't, interact with people normally, because he was being so careful within himself not to stray from spiritual vision. And this here is spoken to a king, and I think this was when he was taken advantage of, because he showed himself to be very stupid and didn't resist anything. So he was taking advantage of in different ways. And we told of that one story when those Kali worshippers wanted to sacrifice him. Then there's another incident, which I'm less familiar with, but I think it was that it was a king who he was being carried on a palanquin, so he had like 4 bearers, and then one of the bearers was injured, and then they grabbed Jada Bharat and had him like take that post. And so he was doing this humble, service as the palanquin bearer for some time, and then there's a really funny interaction he had with the king. I think it might have been like he was that him or was that someone else? I can't remember. But anyhow, in the end, the king understood this is not an ordinary man. He's a self-realized soul. He's a saint. And so he, became receptive to receiving instruction from Bharat and the king, Rahugana. And so this is part of Jada Bharat's instructions to this king. And here what Param Guru Maharaj is drawing out in relation to rejection of the unfavorable is all of these, practices of renunciation or the Vedic Dharma. They are, in and of themselves, they have no value. Without the connection of devotion, they have zero value. Without the interest of Krishna, they have no value. But otherwise, normally the main point of this verse is the essential, the indispensable connection of the Vaishnava. And that's what Prahlad Maharaj is, which I cannot remember, but he says the same thing, and it to his father, he tells him this, without bathing in the foot dust of the devotee of the Lord, you're not going to get anywhere in life. So that same thing's being expressed here. Tapa pravrittinam pratikulyam, the adversity of all attempts based on austerity, etc. And this is the verse, and I think this is found in Bhagavatam. Nahuganai tata pasana yati nachijaya nirvapanad grihadva nachandasanaiva jalagni surya vina mahatpadaro jobishekam. O Rahugana, without one's head being adorned with the dust of the holy feet of a pure devotee, one can never attain devotion for the Supreme Lord by austerity, by Vedic worship and religiosity, by following the vow of monkhood, by following the religious duties of married life, by study and recitation of the Vedas, or by worshipping water, fire, or sun. So all of these, different traditional things that are recommended in the Veda. And the place where these things should take you is the awakenment of some Sukriti, some divine, because if one is faithfully trying to follow the Veda, then some Sukriti should awaken as a result of following these things. But then Sukriti, with the awakenment of Sukriti, one will be inspired to go to a deeper level, to begin to enter into more conscious cultivation of a relationship with the Lord, service to the Lord, hearing Harikatha, all of these, more essential things. So there's another verse. How does it go? My brain is not working today. But Dharma sonusti tapam sam vishwakshena katasayat not podayat ratiyat not podayat yadiratim shrama eva kevalam, saying that if all of these like dharmic things that all these Vedic, dharmic things that you're following, if they don't bring you to the point of some awakenment, of some attraction to hearing about the glories of the Lord, then they're all useless. They're completely useless. That is where, if they're being done properly, that's where they should take you. So in the same way, if one is practicing all these things, but without the grace of a Vaishnava, they're useless. All of the things that we do, the puja, the chanting, the japa, everything, the cooking, whatever it is that we do, it's only meaningful because of the connection of a Vaishnava. You withdraw that subtle element, that subtle link of grace, and you're nowhere. You're zero. Suddenly the whole thing is dead. The only reason why what we do is meaningful is because, our gurus have come to this world and said, I want this. Our Gurudev, he actually personally came here and tried to inspire the devotees, the persons here to do something. So then it becomes meaningful because he's bringing that current down. And we were discussing this last night with Navasundar. That current's being brought down, and we're being given an opportunity to connect with that current through these different activities. So that's why they've become meaningful. But, somebody next door can, set something up just out of their own, inspiration. But it'll look the same, may even look better. But because they don't have that link of grace, that line connecting them with the spiritual world, then it's a completely different thing. Anyone, you can go to Jaipur and have a deity made, bring the deity and open a temple and start doing all these things. But where is that coming from? That's coming from your own, level of attainment. There's no connection with Vaikuntha there. But if a Vaishnava comes down from that plane and extends that line of grace, and in response to that you do something, then you're connected. Then that, like a telephone line, or now we have, more, you don't even need the lines, you have all these subtle transmissions going on, those signals, you've got the proper signal. But if you don't have the right signal, you can press all the buttons on the phone, it's not going to work. Okay, you can pretend you're talking. You can press the numbers and pretend, But without that real, genuine signal, then, it's not going to really take place. So, That is the most essential thing. The connection of the Vaishnava. Bathe. And it actually uses that word, abhishek, to bathe, to be bathed in the foot dust of the devotee. And that means in a substantial way to have the association, to have the influence of that Vaishnava enter your heart in a penetrating way, not in a superficial way. Okay, can go on to the next one. This is also a very nice verse. This is a famous verse too, quoted many times by our gurus. Achuta sambandha hina gyan karmarder api pratikulyam. The adversity of pursuits based on knowledge, gyan, and action, karma, devoid of any relationship with the Supreme Lord, Hari. And this is the verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, spoken by Sri Narada. Naishkarmyam apyachuta bhava varjitam na shobhate jnanam alam niranjanam kutapuna shashvara bhajam ishvare na charpitam karma yad apyakaranam. Very nice verse. Na shobhate. Shobha means like beauty. So it's saying, and so Naishkarmya, such a wonderful verse. Naishkarmya, it refers to having a state of being free from karma. Naishkarmya, no karma. So this is like something that is given such prestige, within the Vedas, within Bhagavad Gita, to reach that point of being able to interact with the environment, but in such a consciousness that you're free from incurring karma. So this is something that's celebrated, through gyan, through knowledge, to reach that state of naishkarmya, freedom from karma. So that's normally something that and in Bhagavad Gita, there's a line where nahi gyanena sadrasham pavitram iha vidyate. Param Guru Maharshi, because there's a few places I've seen where Srila Sridhar Maharshi is comparing the teachings of Gita with the teachings of Bhagavatam and showing how there's superior understanding given in Bhagavatam. And of course in Bhagavad Gita there's many different things given there, many different levels of instruction. But one of those lines, like in the Jnana section, it's this line, Nahi jnanena sadrasham pavitram iha vidyate. There's nothing so pure as jnana, as knowledge, which can bring one to this position of naishkarmya. So then this verse in Bhagavatam, it's just kind of like a radical statement, saying that without the connection of the Lord, without devotion for Lord Achyuta, for Krishna, even that naishkarmya it's ugly, It's saying na shobhate, it's not beautiful, it's not attractive. Achyuta bhava varjitam, that's rejecting love for the Lord. Without that, it's not attractive. So then the verse is going on to say, then what to speak of karma? Like we're saying, even naishkarmya is ugly, is unattractive, is undesirable without the connection of devotion. Then what to speak of ordinary karma in the world? Ordinary, worldly enjoyment, Anybody can, anyone with some spiritual vision to any degree can recognize that it's undesirable to be entangled in the, enjoyment of this worldly plane because it's reactionary. But then this is going another step, even naishkarmya, that is ugly, that's undesirable without bhakti. So the adversity of pursuits based on knowledge, jnana, and action, karma, devoid of any relationship with the Supreme Lord Hari. When unadulterated knowledge that is devoid of action and its reactions is never becoming, and this, it's a little unfortunate actually, because language changes, and And I was actually, this is like a dilemma, you know, because like we don't want to like remake these books. I mean, look at this beautiful book, and this is how it came out. It's like, this is a divine expression. But then at the same time, you know, and also like a lot of Srila Swami Marsh Prabhupada's translations. Like now, this is like 50 years later, and these words, they don't mean the same thing, and they're not used in the same way anymore. So this is like very old-fashioned, becoming. Does that work in Australia?
Sort of.
Okay.
Yeah. You know,
I think it might
get away
work.
with it just.
Okay.
But I had to read that twice, thinking never becoming. What does that mean? You know. Yeah. Yeah.
So it means like attractive.
Yeah, never becoming.
Yeah, it's like more old-fashioned English. When unadulterated knowledge that is devoid of actions and its reactions is never, I'll just say attractive. I mean, the word shobha means like beautiful, you know, beauty. Is never, when unadulterated knowledge that is devoid of action and its reaction, so naishkarmya, is never becoming or never attractive without a devotional relationship with the infallible Lord, how then will action, which is ill-fated by nature, ever be exalted without being offered to the Almighty, even if it is utterly selfless? Okay, and then this next verse is also a famous verse, quoted many times by our gurus. Yamadi yoga sadanasya varjaniyata. The futility of sense control by yogic practice. Yamadi bir yoga patai kama loba hatomuhu mukunda sevaya yadvat tatadatma nashamyati. Spoken by Sri Narada. The agitated mind, repeatedly taken captive by its enemy in the form of depravity rooted in lust and greed, is directly mastered by serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Mukunda. It can never be likewise checked or pacified by practicing the eightfold yogic discipline, which is generally based on sensual and mental repression. So this whole system, it can give us some temporary relief from these, you know, from our mind. But because it's based on repression or just withdrawing, it's not a secure position. One will again have to go down to those things if they cannot catch hold of that positive current. Brahma Sukhagra Praktikul Eva. Eagerness to attain to the bliss of Brahman must be known as unfavorable to devotion. Tvat sakshat kadanalada vishudabdi stitasya me sukhani goshpadayante brahmanyapi jagadguru. O Guru of the universe, now that I can directly behold your divine form, I reside within the ocean of pure ecstasy, and all other pleasures, including the bliss of merging with Brahman, appear as insignificant as the water in a cow's hoofprint. O Guru of the universe, now that I can directly behold your divine form, I reside within the ocean of pure ecstasy, and all other pleasures, including the bliss of merging with Brahman, appear as insignificant as the water in a cow's hoofprint. Mukti sprihaya pratikulyam. The aspiration for liberation is particularly unfavorable. Bhava bandha chide tasmai sprihayami namuktaye bhavan prabhur aham dasa iti yatra vilupyate. I have no aspiration for that liberation which is meant to sever material bondage, and in which the relationship, you are master and I servant, is completely lost. Shri Hanuman. And Hanuman, he's like the paragon of Dasya Ras. You know, he's so fixed in this mood a servant, that I am a servant. And he has a very unique position. And Srila Gurudev, he's mentioned that he has some power because he's so fixed in dasya ras, and we may think in like some academic way dasya ras, like that's a lower rasa, but because of how fixed he is in that, he has some special power, and sometimes there's different occasions when Krishna he likes to put Hanuman in a higher position than devotees who have more of an intimate relationship with him, like check their pride, like, okay, he's in dasya ras, but don't think that he's so inferior. There's some great power there, that devotion that he has. There's one story Srila Sridhar Maharaj tells. You might have heard this before, but what was it exactly? Krishna wanted some blue lotus flowers, like some special lotus flowers from a particular place, a particular mountain. You had to go on some trek, and maybe he wanted 108 of these blue lotus flowers or something like that. And so he sent Garuda. And this is Krishna in Dwarka. And Garuda, on his way, he came across Hanuman. But Hanuman was in disguise as this old monkey. And Hanuman blocked his path and wouldn't allow him to pass, and then finally they had some like some exchange, and Hanuman defeated him, and then Hanuman went and got all these lotus flowers, and then he returns to the Krishna's palace with these lotus flowers and Garuda under his arm. And then he reaches the gate, and then Sudarshan Chakra is protecting, right? He's guarding, and he won't allow Hanuman to enter. So then Hanuman, he takes the Sudarshan Chakra as a ring on his finger, and so he enters into the palace with Garuda under one arm, the flowers in another hand, and then he's got Sudarshan on one of his fingers. And then what Krishna does is, because he knows that Hanuman will only bow to Ramachandra, so partly like to protect Hanuman, like for making some offense, then Krishna he transforms himself into Ramachandra, and then he tells to Satyabhama, "Oh, you turn into Sita." But Satyabhama, she's not able to do it. And so Krishna asks Rukmini to do it, and Rukmini's able to do it, and then Krishna tells Rukmini to hide under the throne. So Hanuman comes in here, and he's like this whole thing, and Satyabhama's hiding under the throne. And Hanuman, he's so happy. "Oh my lord, I have these lotus flowers for you." And then Hanuman's like, "But I have one question. Who's this hiding under the throne?" So like all of these like major servitors, like personal attendants of Krishna, their pride is checked, by Hanuman. So and there's other stories too, Gurudev told you about him. He has some very special position, very utterly fixed in dasya ras.
Mm-hmm.
So for someone like that, to aspire for liberation, which means what? Which signifies that relationship of master and servant is lost, Like, I want to merge into God, If you do that, then you won't get the ecstasy of serving Him. That's the thing we don't understand. how joyful that is, how ecstatic that is. To have a relationship with the Lord, and is infinitely more desirable than to be one with the Lord. Srila Swami Maharaj Prabhupada has one very funny expression where he said that the Mayavadis, they want to become one with God, and we want to take him on our lap and beat him with the stick. Like Mother Jashoda, or intimate associate. And they want to become one. That's the thing. You actually, through devotion, you actually attain a superior position to God. God will pose himself as being inferior to you and as being controlled by your love. And Krishna himself, he states that in so many places. Mad Bhakta Puja Vyadika, the worship of my devotee is superior to the worship of myself. In so many places. So Yuja Mukti Spriha Odatyam Eva. The aspiration to become one with the Absolute is nothing more than arrogance. Bhakti Seva Bhagavato Muktistad Paralanganam Ko Mudo Dasatam Prapya Prabhavam Padam Ichati. Bhakti is the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and mukti is the overstepping of that service. Who is the fool that hankers for liberation's throne, rejecting the servitorship of the Lord? Atyantika Laya Spriha Viveka Hina Taiva. The astonishing indiscrimination in the aspiration for ultimate dissolution. So here, this impersonal Mayavad conception is really being hammered again and again. And, like for us, or maybe for you more in the yoga world, it is something more relevant. But otherwise, like in the Western culture, it doesn't have so much relevance. But in India, this is like a major thing. It has such a huge influence in Shankaracharya's conception. It's all pervasive. And we heard from Srila Gurudev that Srila Swami Maharaj Prabhupada and Srila Sridhar Maharaj, when they would meet in those years before Srila Swami Maharaj went to the West, and he was living in Calcutta, and he gave one of his houses for a branch of Sri Chaitanya Samad, and so Srila Sridhar Maharaj would regularly be there, and they'd meet and they'd talk for hours and hours, and Gurudev said, often like it'd be getting really late and he was hungry and it's 2:00 and I'm hungry, I'm a young man, and the etiquette is you can't eat before your guru, before the senior Vaishnava. So Gurudev would tell them sometimes, like, can we eat? I'm hungry. But Gurudev said that one of like their major topics of discussion was how to defeat Mayavad. They were always talking about that. So a number of verses on that point here. Hanta chitriyate mitra smritvatan amamanasam vivekino piye karyus trishnam atyantike daye. Alas, my friend, my heart is simply astonished when I think of all those discriminating persons who aspire for self-extinction in perpetual indiscriminate absolution. Mukter bhakti dasya vansha bhaktescha tatsangan valinya shanka. Liberation prays to become devotion's maidservant, and devotion apprehends the impurity of liberation's association. Ka tvam muktir upagatasmi bhavati kasmad akasmad iha. Shri Krishna smaranena deva bhavato dasi padam prapita. Dure tishtamanaga nagasikatam koryad anayam mai. Tvannamna nijanama chandana rasa lepasya lopo bhavet. Who are you? It is I, liberation, mukti. O Lord, because you are always absorbed in thought of Shri Krishna, I have been promoted to the position of your maidservant. Just keep a little distance from me. Oh, why are you so harsh upon an innocent person like me? By the mere mention of your name, the sandalwood paste or gopi chandan tilak that adorns my body and which represents my reputation as a devotee of the Lord will vanish altogether. Because this is like another point, like a point of test, desiring some, there's some position of mastership here. That the true, pure-hearted Vaishnava will reject that. Bahirmukha Brahma Janmano Pipratikulata. The adversity of being born as even Lord Brahma, but without Krishna consciousness. So the significance here is Lord Brahma, he has the highest position, within the whole of the material sphere. He has the suprememost position. He lives, so much longer, so many millions of years longer than, what is it? One day is 4.3 billion years or something like that. So he's the longest living, he's the most advanced, most qualified person within, and he has everything at his disposal, whatever he wants. But without devotion, that is undesirable. So this is a verse by Jivanamritam. Tavadasya sukaika sanginam bhavanesh vastvapi kita janma me itara vasate shumasma bud api janma chaturmukatmana. And then there's a Bengali verse, translation, expanded by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and so Prapanna has selected that instead of a direct translation. Veda vidya anusare karma kuriye samsare jiva puna puna janma pai purva krita karma phole tomar vaicha bole janma jadi lobe punarai tobe katamama shunohe purushotama tavadasa sangi jana gore kita janma jadi hoy tahate odoya moy lohi bohe santushtantare tavadasa sangahin jay grihastar vachin tar grihe chaturmukha buddhi nachay kakanhari korodhai joda kori kore tava kinkar minati. According to Vedic injunction, who acts out his worldly function, that soul takes birth again and again. According to my previous action, or your divine predilection, if another birth for me does remain, then just one thing I have to say, O hear me, Lord, if I may. If within the home of your devotee I may be born in an insect body, that cannot but be your mercy. Devoid of your devotee's company in an ignorant non-devotee's family, to be born as even Brahma the Creator, for that, O Lord, I'll never ask you, with folded hands now before you. This is the earnest prayer of your servitor. I mean, I just can't even conceive of this, like of being, I mean, I can appreciate the ideal here, I can appreciate the sentiment here, but to actually like be in a place where you can genuinely, you know, authentically, earnestly express this. You know, I can pray to have this type of aspiration one day, but to actually be in that kind of consciousness where you would honestly prefer to be born as an insect, you know, in the home of a devotee, where you're having the association, you're hearing the Harikatha, you're hearing the Kirtan, as opposed to being at the... So the insect is like, has the lowest position in the whole of the material sphere. And then Brahma has the supreme most position. So this juxtaposition is here. To have the supreme-most position without, you know, connection of your devotees. That is undesirable. But this is desirable. And this is also mentioned in it's in one of the Shikshashtakam songs, I think, with the same point. Kita Janma, how? Let me take birth, you know, as an insect, as a worm. That is nothing. Narayana Parasarve Nakutaschana Vivyati Swarga Apavarga. This is Lord Shiva's statement that for the devotee, you know, devoted, the person devoted to the Lord, to Narayan, heaven, hell, earth, it all equals the same. You know, it doesn't matter. It doesn't make any difference to them. They're just situated in that consciousness of devotion and service to their Lord. And that's all they want, to remain in that consciousness. Gora Bhakti Rasa Yasya Anyacha Shidrasipi Pratiko Yanubhuti. The pure devotee, this is Prabodhananda Saraswati Thakur. The pure devotee who knows the paramount immaculate nectar of devotion for Sri Chaitanya Dev distrusts all else, even to the point of considering the culture of other spiritual relationships to be opposition. So this is the verse. Vasome vadam astu goda dahana jalavali panjare Shri Chaitanya padada vinda vimukhe ma kuchachit sangamaha Vaikuntadi padam swayancha militam no me mano lipsate padambo jara jaschata yadi managorasya no rasyate. Let me remain within a cage of blazing fire, but never in the association of persons averse to the holy lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. If I never get even the slightest taste of the nectar of a tiny particle of the pollen of the lotus feet of Sri Gauranga, my heart has no aspiration for position in the great spiritual planets headed by Vaikuntha, even if it is mine for the taking. So very extreme mood of devotion being expressed here. And there's some other verses, another one coming up along these lines. Sometimes I think it's a good place to stop. It's a little early, but this next one's kind of a major one, so I want to go into that more. Okay, I think I'll stop there. It's a lot to meditate on. Jai Shri Prapanna Jivanamritam ki Jai. Shlavakti Raksha Shridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj ki Jai. Shlavakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj ki Jai. Gaur Premanand.